Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer, coming to you straight from our premier Audmatha studio here in Dubai. Today, we're diving into something that literally every single one of us needs, but let's be honest, almost nobody actually knows how to do. I'm talking about the art of conscious rest. Now, as we often teach here at Pratimoksha, genuine recovery isn't just something that magically happens to you when you stop moving. It's actually a profound practice. So let's just jump right in. I want you to ask yourself a really honest question right now. Are you actually resting, or are you just lying down? We see this all the time with our high-performing clients here in Dubai. It's a modern illusion we call passive collapse. You know the drill, right? You power through a demanding 12-hour workday, finally hit the couch, flip on a screen, and totally convince yourself you're resting. But here's the thing. Just because you aren't physically moving doesn't mean you're getting physiological rest. They are completely different states. And honestly, the signs of this false recovery are probably staring you right in the mirror. Waking up tired even after logging a full 8 hours in bed? Check. A brain that just endlessly loops through emails and completely hypothetical conversations when you're just trying to sleep? Check. Maybe you're relying on those triple-shot espressos just to jumpstart your morning, and then using screens or maybe a glass of wine to numb out in the evening. Or maybe you're carrying around this persistent, locked-in physical tension, especially in your neck, jaw, and shoulders. Throw in a slowly rising baseline of exhaustion that just never quite fades. Well, in our experience, these are definitely not signs that you lack willpower. Not at all. They're actually symptoms of a deep structural problem with how we've all been taught to recover. Because think about it, when you finally collapse in front of a screen after a massive day, sure, your body gets horizontal time, but it absolutely does not get recovery. Physiologically speaking, your eyes are darting all over the place, and your nervous system is still processing light and stimulation at breakneck speed. You are reacting. Your body is just continuously dripping cortisol in response to whatever drama is playing out on that screen. So your nervous system, it's still deeply engaged. It's literally just horizontal time, completely minus the actual healing. Our founder here at Pratimoksha, Lalitha Viswanath, has this foundational teaching that completely flips this paradigm on its head. As she always says, rest is not a reward for finishing. That's a modern assumption. And that hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? For centuries, the classical yogic tradition understood something that our modern work culture has completely forgotten. Rest is a vital discipline in its own right. It requires skill, it takes attention, and it demands specific practice. It is not just some prize you get when all your tasks are finally done. Because let's be real, the tasks are never truly done. So we're really looking at two entirely different mindsets here. On one hand, you have this modern assumption that treats rest as a passive void, just, collapsing with some screen time as your reward for finishing work. But on the other hand, the classical yogic tradition treats rest as an active discipline. It's a deliberate transition. It's a skill that serves as an absolute prerequisite for sustained function. Look, we all know how to work hard, right? And we definitely know how to collapse. But that space between those two extremes, that deliberate, conscious transition into genuine stillness, that is exactly the lost art we train our clients to master. And classical yoga actually addresses this transition directly through a concept called pratyahara. If you're familiar with Patanjali's 8-limbed framework, this is the 5th limb. It translates to the active, deliberate withdrawal of your senses from external stimulation. Think about it for a second. Your mind cannot possibly focus on internal healing or recovery if your senses are still turned completely outward, endlessly chasing phone pings, street noise, and flashing notifications. Pratyahara isn't sleep. It's a very conscious closing of the doors to the outside world. So how do we actually apply this? Well, at Pratimoksha, we utilize powerful practices like savasana and yoga nidra. We like to define this as rest with a witness. Now, savasana isn't just those last few minutes of casually lying on the floor at the end of a workout. When you practice it with our guidance and your full attention, it becomes this incredibly specific tool. Your nervous system downregulates under your conscious observation, rather than just checking out into unconscious sleep. You, the practitioner, remain completely aware while your body drops into profound states of rest. And this isn't just some esoteric philosophy, guys. This is hard clinical reality. Take a look at a 2023 study published in PLOS One. They followed novice practitioners and found that just 2 weeks of yoga nidra improved sleep efficiency, memory accuracy, and even cognitive processing. There was another clinical investigation in the Journal of Psychosomatic Research that found it significantly reduced the respiration rate of insomnia patients compared to just lying quietly in bed. So the quality of your rest is entirely dictated by the state your nervous system enters. Conscious rest literally changes your physiological state. Actually, I want to let this number sink in for a second. 89%. In that same Journal of Psychosomatic Research study I just mentioned, yoga nidra produced actual sleep in 89% of participants who had self-reported insomnia. I mean, wow. These aren't just marginal, nice-to-have little effects. This is a dramatic physiological intervention. When the body rests, but the mind is still totally reactive, still trying to process whatever stressful events the day threw at you here in Dubai, the quality of that rest is severely compromised. But by guiding the mind deliberately, we finally allow the nervous system to complete its vital regulatory work. But to really master this whole process, we have to look at the ethics of recovery. In classical yoga, there's this wonderful principle called santosha, which is usually translated as contentment. But the way we practically apply it here at the studio, santosha is the practical willingness to just stop. It's the ability to respect your own sustainable limits and fundamentally refuse to treat resting as being lazy. In a fast-paced city like Dubai, where, productivity is highly visible and taking a break can almost feel like a failure, practicing santosha becomes this quietly radical tool. It lets you set boundaries and prioritize your nervous system without a single ounce of guilt. Which brings us to a core tenet that Lalitha Viswanath emphasizes constantly to both our corporate and individual clients, and it's simply this: a person who does not recover cannot perform consistently. The classical yogic texts never, ever separated well-being from performance. It's our modern work culture that tries to separate them, constantly pushing us to produce without refueling. But the real truth, recovery is an absolute, non-negotiable prerequisite for sustained function. If you don't rest well, you simply cannot practice, work, or live well. It's really that simple. When clients come to us for yoga therapy dealing with very real physical complaints, whether we're talking poor sleep, debilitating tension headaches, weird digestive issues, or chronic fatigue, we almost always find a massive nervous system regulation component. Just trying to fix posture alone, it's never enough. We teach the full cycle of training: exertion, attention, and genuine recovery. You absolutely have to experience all three. Most high performers are incredibly great at exertion, but they totally lack the training and the environment to safely navigate attention and genuine recovery. And that is exactly why we created the Dhyana Workshop. It's our signature program, and it approaches rest from the meditative end of that cycle. It is entirely dedicated to building your personal capacity for conscious stillness. So if you're someone whose standard 8 hours of sleep just isn't leaving you refreshed anymore, or if you find it literally impossible to switch your brain off when the laptop finally closes, this workshop is absolutely the missing piece. It teaches you how to make your recovery genuinely restorative, instead of just passive. So I want to leave you with this one question to think about. Are you ready to stop treating rest as a reward and start treating it as a vital discipline? If this whole concept resonates with you today, we would love to invite you to experience this kind of genuine restoration for yourself. Head over to our website, book a trial session with us here at Pratimoksha, and let us help you rediscover what it truly feels like to rest. Thank you so much for joining me in this explainer, and we really look forward to welcoming you to the studio very, very soon.